You know, they've actually been ramping up the, we should annex Greenland messaging. They've been pumping that up a lot lately, like quite a bit. Osha Vance visited Greenland, what, 2 days ago?
Greenland is confused about the Second Lady and the National Security Advisor visiting this week. They're concerned that this is further provocation of whatever it is you ultimately want for Greenland. Could you?
Yeah, well, not provocation. This is friendliness, not provocation. We're dealing with a lot of people from Greenland that would like to see something happen with respect to their being properly protected and properly taken care of. They're calling us, we're not calling them. And we were invited over there, and I thought...
I'm so confused. Why are they pushing the Greenland thing? Well, they're doing it with Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal, or Panama, I guess, broadly. Greenland frees up the Arctic trade routes. Also, I think you could argue, like, depending on how Russia-philic this administration is, like how much you think they're leaning into that, controlling Greenland would basically give the American-Russian alliance, like, unparalleled control over the Arctic Circle. Like, it would, like, we would have essentially a whole, not the entirety, but like basically the whole goddamn we'd have the tip, Yeah, we control the world's areola. Frightening.
I thought it would be I have great respect for the wife of our great vice president. I think she's she's a brilliant woman. She's a very nice woman. And she loves the concept of Greenland. And so she's going there.
The concept
and I think
of
Marco's
Greenland.
going there, and some others are going there. But we've been invited, and they really like the idea because they have been somewhat abandoned, as you know. Mm-hmm. They haven't been taken good care of. And I think Greenland's going to be something that maybe is in our future. I think it's important. It's important from the standpoint.
It's a little frightening, to be honest with you, because unlike Canada, Greenland actually would be a very easy target for a U.S. takeover. Like Canada would be ruinous for a wide variety of reasons. Greenland would basically be like a freebie. It's not really defensible. Do they have any allies? Sure, but we're the United States of America, and it's Greenland. It'd be over in a week. I mean, it could be over in a week.
Point of international security. It cannot go on the way it is. It's not going to go on the way it is. I'll make a statement. It's not going to happen. So they're going there, and that's purely friendship.
Yeah, keep in mind, Greenland is basically like one city in the south of the gigantic island, right? Like Greenland, it's not a real country. Let's be real here, okay? Not to verify Trump rhetoric or anything like that, but with a population of 56,000, you have the population of a small American town. It's not like it's basically like a territory it's like a city-state attached to a gigantic iceberg. It's an extension.
Who's doing the invading? You said the people.
A lot of people, yeah.
Isn't it a territory of Denmark? Isn't it considered a country? You can be a territory in a country, can't you? Kind of. Don't people consider Greenland to be a country? Yeah. I'm about to either embarrass myself or you guys so hard. Is Greenland a country? No. Fuck! All right, I don't want to talk about it. An autonomous nation in the Kingdom of Denmark. I don't want to talk about it. I'm upset right now.
People from Greenland are asking us to go there. We have many, many requests from many, many people, some officials too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Greenland is confused about the Second Lady and the National Security Advisor visiting this week. They're concerned that this is further provocation of whatever it is you ultimately want for Greenland. Could you further explain why they're going? What is the ultimate end goal?
Yeah, well, not provocation. This is friendliness, not provocation. We're dealing with a lot of people from Greenland that would like to see something happen with respect to their being properly protected and properly taken care of. They're calling us, we're not calling them.
Right. Trump always references some unknown people to back his claim. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, he's like, he's a bit, not to engage in any, slanderous behavior, but he is a little bit of a massive liar, if you can believe that. I think this is mostly about Russia. I mean, again, if you take a look at the Arctic, so we're fighting over control of the North Pole here, right? Basically. So if you take a look at the Arctic Ocean, everything on up here, and it's so weird looking at the world this way, huh? I know it's a very like maybe like an American-centric thing or like a Western-centric thing. You don't really think of I bet Russians see maps like this pretty often, because if you look at this map, Russia's looking pretty damn good, huh? Anyway, you know, America, we don't really have much of a claim to the Arctic Ocean except for Alaska. It's cold up there. I think the increasing pressure on Greenland is partly about securing fossil fuel resources, you know, offshore drilling, whatever, but also about securing oceanic routes that connect us to Russia. I mean, this is a Russophilic organization. And we are trying to push for Canada being the 51st state, which is outlandish, but if you think about it, if we did annex Canada and Greenland, we would essentially control the entire Arctic Circle. And the Arctic Circle is only going to get more valuable over time because of climate change. More of the ice is going to melt, which means that more usable land is going to be exposed. A lot of interesting stuff's going to happen up there. Oil. I think Trump just likes the idea of making the map bigger. Yeah, but Trump's not the one making decisions. Trump doesn't make any decisions, right? It's just a question of how much is a deliberate distraction and how much of it is being motivated by some like broader interest. And I think this is like a 50-50 thing. It's audacious enough to be a distraction. It's also something they would go for if they could. You know, Schrodinger's expansionist, but they're already allied with Greenland and have US bases there. So yeah, but how long do you think we're really going to be allied with Greenland? If the point here is to be in like an open alliance with Russia, how long do you think our friendly relationship with Canada and Greenland would last? How much do you think they would let us get away with? Right? Bannon made it pretty clear. Yeah, they have been talking about this. Canada's Arctic will be a tremendous vulnerability, Bannon said.
To be a key member of Donald Trump's inner circle, Steve Bannon, who suggested today that Canada should be grateful for a presidential proposal many in this country feel is an insult. He spoke to CTV's Judy Trin.
At America's biggest conservative convention.
This was the conference where Steve Bannon Sieg Heiled, right?
White House advisors wield props and power. On the sidelines, it's mega influencers who hold court. Among them, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's former chief strategist, who says Canadians should be flattered that the U.S. president wants to annex Canada.
The Canadians should take that as the greatest compliment you've ever had.
Bannon says Trump sees the Arctic as the site of the next great power struggle. He says Russia and China may want to take control of the Arctic's valuable resources by force, and that Canada doesn't have the military might to defend the North.
If you think you can actually secure the Arctic to the degree you need to secure it against the Chinese Communist Party and the Russians and still have the rest of your defense budget.
This is like very classic protectorate logic, right? Like an expansionist empire says, hey, you know, the world's getting to be a dangerous place and you don't have the military necessary to defend the territory in your that you control. Why don't you become a protectorate? Basically, you become a vassal state to us. We'll lend you our military. All you have to do is pay us taxes. In effect, we're annexing you. You know, this kind of argument, the version of this argument has been around forever. We literally have NATO in Article 5. Yeah, well, that's how you know that he's lying, right? Canada is not under threat by Russia at all. If we're allies with Canada, Canada's own military weaknesses have nothing to do with us. Like, why would... It doesn't matter if Canada can protect the Arctic Circle, we're their ally. You don't have to annex a territory to be militarily allied with them. It's just a shakedown.
Still make your commitments to NATO. You have not run the math.
Canada plans to spend nearly $40 billion to improve Arctic surveillance.
Anyway, the point is made. It's about resources. It's about control of the region. You understand. They're getting riled up over there in Greenland. I can't say I blame them, considering how much these threats have ramped up.
Min reaktion på det amerikanske besøg er flere ting. Så kan det her ikke ses uafhængigt af de udsagn og de meldinger, vi har hørt fra amerikansk side her rigtig startende i januar måned og frem til nu. Så er det jo tydeligt ikke et besøg, som handler om, hvad Grønland har brug for, eller hvad Grønland ønsker at besøge udefra nu. Og derfor... Så bliver jeg også nødt til at sige, at det er et uacceptabelt pres, der bliver lagt både på Grønland og Danmark i den her situation, og det er også et pres, vi kommer til at stå imod. Man kan ikke lave et privat besøg med officielle repræsentanter fra et andet land Et besøg i Grønland, hvor den fungerende grønlandske regering meget klart har sagt, at man ikke ønsker at have et besøg lige nu, fordi der ikke er en regering, så der kan ikke afholdes den type sådan, officielle møder. Og jeg har jo sagt flere gange siden 7. januar, at jeg og vi tager den her situation meget alvorligt. Præsident Trump er seriøs, og han er alvorlig. Han ønsker Grønland. Og derfor kan det ikke ses uafhængigt af noget som helst andet. Og derfor er det selvfølgelig, ligegyldigt hvordan vi vender og drejer det, et helt uacceptabelt pres, både på Grønland og de grønlandske politikere og den grønlandske befolkning, men det er det også på Danmark og dermed hele kongeriget.
You know, I know you guys are very fascinated by this language, but the content of the message is perhaps a little bit more interesting. The Trump administration sending, like, essentially unofficial diplomatic envoys during a time when they haven't formed their government because elections just happened. Like, that's a little bit odd, right? Just a little bit? I think they're serious, man. What are the chances nothing comes out of this? Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. We live in unprecedented times. I would say, though, that they are ramping up the severity on this. Look, fascist governments need to be embroiled in a permanent state of crisis. You can't have a fascist government that's just like chilling, because the only way they can continue to revoke your political rights, revoke your civil liberties, like a tighten austerity, make your life worse, they need to have something to justify it. There has to be something going on. It doesn't happen in peacetime. You either create a war, right? Which would certainly be the case if they attempted to annex Greenland, even if it would be a very brief war, because Greenland can't really defend itself against us. And Trump literally threatened to add more soldiers to our military bases in Greenland. Did you guys see that? Trump literally, he was like, maybe we'll be sending more troops over there soon. It's really just a matter of, like, what they're willing to commit to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure there's much that could be done to stop the U.S. from doing these things. Oh, no one could stop us from taking Greenland. Yeah, it's Greenland. That being said, it would probably be met with, like, a complete, essentially, like, blacklisting of the United States from the rest of the Western world. It would be, like, it would be so audacious, so insane. Like, it would be viewed worse than Russia annexing Crimea, because Russia was already understood to be, like, a dictatorial, fascistic nation with eyes on Ukraine, right? This would be so out of nowhere. I think it would probably be met with, like, tariffs and indefinite political isolation. At least I hope it would be met with that. Christ. Nobody's triggering a defensive clause with the EU. Nobody's triggering Article 5 against America. I just don't know how effective it would be at, like, mobilizing a fascist agenda at home, because all of America's real enemies would be a pain in the ass to fight. China would be a pain in the ass to fight. They're a massive nuclear-powered nation. Iran would be a pain in the ass to fight. We could not fight Iran without putting boots on the ground. Like, it would be a huge kerfuffle, to say the least. That's a lot of work. Now, taking Greenland would be easy, but they're also not an enemy, not even remotely. Nobody in America hates Greenland. I'm sorry. So how much would you be able to get, like, American jingoism riled up against Greenland? It's just not, we don't even feel that way about Canada. And at least the average American knows about Canada. I don't think the average American even knows Greenland is populated. You know, I like, we just don't have, there's not a pretext. There was a pretext between Germany and Poland, right? There was a pre-existing dynamic that Hitler could use as a pretext to start a war, right? Like, there was something. There wasn't a good reason, but there was, like, room to manufacture them. With this? With Greenland? Yeah, just because we can. Yeah, there aren't many pre-existing territorial disputes between Greenland and America. To my knowledge, I don't know everything. Wouldn't annexing Greenland lead to American isolation, widespread chaos? Well, that's what I think, yeah. We're not talking about the Falklands here or whatever. I don't think this would be, like, a good conflict to start for no reason. It's just difficult to do this nowadays. Look at Russia, right? Russia is like maybe the best example we have of a country that hasn't adapted to the new world when it comes to, like, their expansionist ambitions. Mostly because they have free reign internationally to bully former USSR satellite states. When Russia wants to, like, get their population ginned up, they can do it. They have a huge territory and a lot of satellite countries around them. You want to go bully the Georgians? Sure. You want to go bully the Chechens? Sure. You want to go bully Ukraine? Well, that one's a little tougher, but they'll do it. Okay. move around. Yeah, if Turkey wants to bully people, what do? Fire into Syria. If Israel wants to bully people, what do? Gaza Strip, Syria, Lebanon. Who cares? It's Syria and Lebanon. No one gives a shit. What do you want to do if you're America? Well, we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan a little while ago, but those turned out to be really unpopular, and no one wants boots in the ground over there anymore. And as much as we're pro-Israel, like on a governmental level, I don't think people want boots in the ground for Israel either. So what do? What war can we do? What examples are there of fascist governments that have tried to perpetuate themselves without a war to scapegoat over? Well, we have Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro's a fascist, and Brazil hasn't been embroiled in any like massive ongoing military conflicts, to my knowledge. You have your occasional border kerfuffles, but nothing real. Bolsonaro got ousted. What about Orban in Hungary? Well, I don't know if you've taken a look at the ratings lately, but Orban has not only has he failed to meaningfully capture his country in the way he wants to, he's getting close to getting kicked out. You understand what I'm talking about? Fascism just doesn't perpetuate itself for very long without some kind of like permanent crisis. The most Viktor Orban's been able to do is fearmonger over the Syrian refugee crisis, you know? All of the Syrians coming into Europe. But the Syrian refugee crisis began in 2015. Syria's been liberated. Not to say the problem's over, but like, find a new gig. Do you think it's harder to do fascism in the 21st century due to technology and information? I do, yeah. I think it's harder to sustain. What about Meloni? Meloni's only been in charge of Italy for, what has it been, like a year and a half, 2 years? And also, what has she done with her time? Don't get me wrong, Italy is worse for her rule. But how much has she managed to do versus how much you would expect given her, let's say, political lineage? I would say, like, what is Meloni going to do? Invade Ethiopia again? It's difficult. It's difficult to rile people up. She's mostly concerned with small boats in the Mediterranean. Exactly. The emergency for those fascist countries, for countries like Britain or fascists in Germany, is not one of real national emergency. It's not one of invasion or warfare. It's one of immigration. That's why nowadays all of the fascists refer to immigration as an invasion, because fascists need warfare to justify their existence. And in the absence of warfare, they have to pretend refugees are soldiers. It's not a coincidence. They do this in every country. Every single country they try this. Look anywhere in the West. Every single one of them. They make the immigrants out to be invaders because that's the only way they can justify their political doctrine. And there's just a limit to how far you can go with that. They've done it here in America. And, well, now we're threatening to invade Greenland. In case you're wondering, by the way, like to what extent this is being motivated by allegiance with Russia, literally just today, following discussions between Trump and Putin, the United States has expressed its intention to help restore Russia's access to the world market for agricultural and fertilizer exports, lower maritime insurance costs, and enhance access to ports. Literally, like, for no reason, the American government is like, we're gonna make it a priority to help you out for some reason. Literally, like, it just like, unambiguously, what if we're just like allies with our enemies now? Ensure safe navigation through the Black Sea. We're trying to build up Russia's economy. Soon it'll be illegal to not, I don't know, buy their vodka or something. I don't know. The US and Russia agreed to develop measures for implementing Trump and Putin's agreement to ban strikes against energy facilities of Russia and Ukraine. As in other words, Russia and America will work together to keep Ukraine from striking Russian oil processing facilities. Well, you get me. Russia hit those same targets they agreed not to the same day, did they not? Probably. I mean, you can just assume that, yeah.